My Lords, of course I support the Noble Lord Clement Jones amendment opposing the increases in these fines, but I think we need to go further and abolish these on-the-spot penalties per se for a variety of reasons, which is why I've asked to put this clause stand part of the bill. Sorry. I think that you cannot underestimate how public space protection orders and community protection notices trivialise what we understand to be dealing with antisocial behaviour. And we've just had a long discussion about what is antisocial behaviour. But these are part of the toolkit to deal with antisocial behaviour, and they really do end up targeting individuals for the most anodyne, mundane activities and banning everyday freedoms. And I think the use of fines has led to, in a way, us not taking seriously what real antisocial behaviour is, because these fines are given out for such arbitrary, eccentric reasons. The PSPOs and CPNs can be issued on a very low threshold, entirely subject to misuse, lots of evidence showing that, often criminalising, as I say, everyday activities. For example, PSPOs are often used to ban people gathering in groups, young people gathering in groups, which seems to me to be a dangerous attack on our right to assembly. And it's despite the fact that the statutory guidance states that PSPOs should only target activities that cause a nuisance and should not criminalise everyday sociability, such as standing around in groups. That's what it says, and yet they're constantly used in that way, but they seem to be unaccountably doled out. There are now over 2,000 PSPOs in England and Wales, and each of them contains up to 35 separate restrictions, and that means that tens of thousands of new controls are being issued on public spaces all the time. And they are, as we heard earlier, imposed on different geographic areas, prohibiting, making prohibitions on different types of activities for different citizens from one place to another. So you can be in one town where an activity is legal, go to the next town and the same activity is illegal. And we discussed some of that earlier. But I think, as the Noble Baroness Chakrabarti pointed out, and indeed Justice has drawn our attention to, the inconsistent use of these kind of PSPOs does create a postcode lottery for victims, but also indeed for perpetrators. And to quote Justice, it says, "This undermines the rule of law by making enforcement dependent on the victim's location rather than the circumstances." I hope that we can possibly send the Noble Lord, the Minister, the research done by Justice and by the Manifesto Club that's already been referred to, so that he can see the freedom of information requests to local authorities and just what kind of activities are being issued with PSPOs, CPNs, and therefore what these fines are being used to tackle. And I can assure you, it's innocuous activities, not antisocial behaviour. There are councils that are banning kite flying, wild swimming, as we've heard, using camping stones. I mean, I thought that it was interesting that recently the Free Speech Union forced Thanet District Council to scrap its imposition of a sweeping public space protection order that would have banned the use of foul or abusive language in public space in the Thanet area. So you would be able to swear in one area, not in another area. I can understand that they might have raised a lot of money, but I don't necessarily think that that's the same as dealing with antisocial behaviour. But actually, the councils themselves don't do the dirty work of enforcement. They instead outsource that to private companies, and that's really the reason why the Noble Lord Clement Jones has explained so well the dangers of this private firms going around. We've got a geographic breakdown of national way of dealing with antisocial behaviour, and now we've got a kind of almost feudal way of collecting fines from it. if a payment per fine is these kind of fines means that the orders might well be issued for all the wrong reasons, for income generating commercial purposes, for targets that are about raising money rather than tackling antisocial behaviour. And increasing the fines will surely only incentivise that practice further. I really do urge the Noble Lord the Minister to consider this, that the noble cause the government is associated with here is to deal with antisocial behaviour. But by using private companies to fine people in such a cavalier way, then actually is discrediting the whole cause of dealing with antisocial behaviour. It really is damaging the reputation of this noble cause. I think that there's no transparency or oversight mechanism for these companies, and I do think there is one ban that I would like to bring in, and that is fining for profit. So I hope the Noble Lord the Minister will consider at least reviewing this and looking at it closely.